The elevator slams to a stop so hard Zuri's teeth click together. The lights cut out. For one long second, there is only black and the sound of cables groaning somewhere above them. Then the small box floods with red emergency light, turning the stainless steel walls into something that feels like a warning. Her hand flies to the panel, fingers jabbing the buttons in a fast, shaky rhythm. Lobby. Door open. Alarm. Nothing answers. The air already feels heavier, like the walls just inched closer. The man in the dark coat does not move. He stands in the corner, calm, one hand still in his pocket, eyes fixed on her like he is watching a test he already knows the result of. Zuri forces her voice out. Okay. No. We're not doing this tonight. Her words bounce around the small space and sound smaller coming back. She hits the alarm again. Silence. No buzz. No voice. Just that heavy red light and the faint smell of steel and cigarette smoke clinging to his clothes. His stillness makes her more nervous than the dead elevator. People who are scared fidget. People like him get quieter. Try your phone, she says, not looking at him. Her thumb wakes her screen. No service. 3 useless little bars with a red X. She swallows. Of course. The man pulls out a slim phone, checks once, then slips it away without comment. The move is smooth, like he knew what he would see. When she finally meets his eyes, his gaze feels like a spotlight in this red haze, steady and unblinking. Before she can fill the space with nervous jokes, his voice cuts in, low and even. You're breathing too fast. It is not a question. She hadn't noticed. Her chest rises and falls like she just ran up the stairs. Her fingers tighten around the phone. He nods toward her hands. You're going to drop that if you don't stop shaking. The quiet way he says it makes her more aware of her own body, the way sweat starts to gather at her lower back, the way her throat feels dry. He leans back against the wall, and the red glare catches an old scar that cuts across his temple. You work upstairs, he says. You move like someone who works in a place where she is seen but not heard. The words land too close to the truth. Her eyes flick to his face, to the scar, to the clean lines of his coat. There is no name tag, no tie, no badge. He does not belong to any floor she knows. The silence between them stretches until it almost hums. Zuri feels her own thoughts crowd in, the long shift, the fake smiles, the way men looked right through her all night until they wanted something. Her tongue moves before her fear catches up. You always talk like that in stuck elevators, or is this special? For the first time, the corner of his mouth lifts. It is not a full smile, more like a crack in armor. You're afraid of silence, he says. Most people are. It makes them remember. The way he says it makes her wonder what he remembers when it gets quiet. Before we start, make sure to hit like and subscribe, and really I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. Her back hits the cool metal as she slides down to sit on the floor, pulling her knees close to her chest. The red light washes over her brown skin, over the faint shimmer of spilled drink on her shoes. The elevator is too small for the distance she wants from this man. You're pretty calm for someone stuck 50 floors up, she says. You clearly haven't met my boss, he answers. There is a short beat, and then a quiet laugh escapes him, like he surprised himself by letting it out. Time starts to bend. Seconds stretch into something that feels longer. The hum of the building is gone, there is only them and the occasional distant thud from somewhere in the tower. Zuri's eyes drift to his hands, searching for shaking that matches her own. Nothing. His fingers rest easy at his sides, like he is in an empty lobby instead of a metal box hanging over a long drop. That calm draws her in and sets her on edge at the same time. When the elevator finally jerks, both of them tense. The red light flickers, then steadies. The feeling of weight returns under their feet as the car shudders downward. Zuri's heart kicks harder, but this time it is not just relief. It is something she does not have a name for yet, watching his profile as the floor numbers crawl by. The doors slide open to a bright lobby, and for a heartbeat she expects him to walk out without another word. Instead, he steps forward, then pauses and turns his head just enough. Zuri, right? She freezes. How do you know my name? He doesn't answer. He just walks away into the marble and glass like he owns every inch of it. The camera holds on Zuri standing alone in the elevator doorway, her name still hanging in the air. If you were trapped in a dead elevator with a stranger who somehow knew your name, and you felt that mix of fear and curiosity chewing at your chest, would you chase him for answers or let him disappear into the night? Tell your truth in the comments, because somewhere, someone else might need to hear how you would handle that moment. The elevator doors slide shut in front of her before she can make herself move. Zuri steps into the lobby on weak legs, the bright ceiling lights burning her eyes after all that red. The marble floor feels too smooth under her cheap shoes. She watches the reflection of that man's dark coat on the polished surface as he moves away, shrinking with each step until he blends into the late-night flow of staff and strangers. Her fingers find the plastic badge at her hip. Zuri Okafor, it reads in neat print. Maybe he saw it. Maybe that is all it was. She tells herself that as she walks through the revolving doors and into the biting winter air. The wind cuts straight through her thin black jacket, bringing the smell of exhaust, cold metal, and grilled meat drifting from some food truck she cannot see. Tokyo at this hour glitters with signs and screens, but all she can think about is the way he said her name like he had used it before. Out on the sidewalk, the tower rises behind her like a glass blade. She turns up her collar and joins the slow stream of late workers heading toward the station. A bus sighs to a stop at the corner, heat pouring out as the doors fold open. She almost misses the step, still replaying the quiet in that elevator, the way he watched her. Her body moves on habit, scan card, find a seat, grip the cool pole as the driver pulls away, while her mind stays in the 50th floor hallway, staring at a closed elevator door. On the ride home, the bus rocks gently. Neon washes across Zuri's face in bands of pink and blue as it passes shop fronts and flickering billboards. Snatches of conversation in Japanese, English, and languages she does not recognize drift around her, but everything feels far away. Her hands feel the crack in her phone case over and over. She opens her messages, half expecting to see something strange already there, and finds nothing but old reminders and spam. Her heart settles a little. Maybe this night will just fade into another strange memory. Her building smells like damp concrete and instant noodles. The stairwell is too narrow for the number of people who squeeze their lives inside it, and her footsteps echo as she climbs. Inside her small apartment, she drops her bag, kicks off her shoes, and pulls her phone charger from the wall in one smooth motion she has done 1,000 times. The tiny space hums with the fridge, the neighbor's TV bleeding through the thin wall, and the muted city noise pressing in from outside. She grabs the remote and flicks on her own TV, more for company than interest. By the time she throws herself down on the bed, her back aches and her eyes burn. The mattress springs protest under her weight. She scrubs a hand over her face and stares at the screen. A news anchor speaks rapid Japanese, the scrolling text at the bottom full of words she has learned to halfway understand: arrest, scandal, investigation. She reaches for the remote to flip to something mindless. That is when she sees him. The man from the elevator. His face fills the screen, framed by official photos and blurry security footage. The name under it hits her like another sudden stop. Ryusei Tanaka. The words, suspected syndicate leader, flash beside it. Her hand freezes on the remote. The room feels smaller, the walls inching closer. Her breath catches, stuck somewhere between a laugh and a gasp. She tries to convince herself it is a mistake, someone who just looks like him. But the scar at his temple is right there in high definition, and the anchor's serious tone leaves no room for doubt. She is still staring at the TV when her phone buzzes on the nightstand, sharp and sudden in the quiet. The vibration rattles the cheap wooden nightstand and sends her charger cable sliding toward the edge. Zuri's heart jumps like someone knocked on her front door after midnight. She doesn't move at first. The TV keeps showing Ryusei's face, now in a smaller box as the anchor talks and footage of police cars and dark sedans plays behind. Her phone dances again, buzzing toward the floor. That finally kicks her into motion. She snatches it up and squints at the screen. Unknown number. International prefix. Her thumb hovers over the red decline button. For a few seconds, the only sound in the room is the buzz of the fridge and the muffled sound of sirens on the TV. The call stops. Her shoulders drop an inch in relief. Then a message notification slides across the top of the screen. She opens it, more out of reflex than choice. Just one line stares back at her. Dinner tomorrow. 8 p.m. Don't make me send someone else. No name. No location. No emojis, no extra words. The text sits in the middle of the screen like a threat and an invitation at the same time. Her thumb moves to delete, and she taps it away in one sharp motion. The empty thread does not make her feel better. It feels like wiping a fingerprint off a crime scene. The phone screen goes dark. Her reflection stares back at her, wide eyes, tight jaw, sweat at her hairline. As soon as the room is dark again, the glow from the TV pulls her eyes back to Ryusei's photo. Her brain starts connecting dots she does not want to see. A powerful man with no badge in a tower owned by people like him. The way staff on the 50th floor always went quiet when certain groups walked through. The elevator stopping for no clear reason. The way he said, names are easy to find, and then used hers. Zuri pushes herself up to sit on the edge of the bed. Her feet find the rough edge of her cheap rug, toes curling against the fibers. The apartment suddenly feels too quiet, even with the TV on. She grabs the remote and mutes it, just to hear how loud her own thoughts have gotten. The silence presses in, and for a moment she is back in that elevator, hearing him say she was afraid of it. She hates that he might be right. Her phone lights again, not with a new message but with the same thread she deleted, still open in her hand. It hits her that if this man can stop an elevator and pull up someone like her out of nowhere, deleting one text will not make her invisible again. She slides the phone into her pocket like she is hiding something from the walls. Her body is tired, but her mind will not let her lie down. Instead, she walks to the small window and pulls back the thin curtain. The city stretches out below, all neon, headlights, and distant sirens, indifferent to her panic. Her eyes follow the blinking lights until they land on a thin line of the tower she left an hour ago. Somewhere at the top of that building, decisions are being made by people whose names she has only heard in whispers. Now one of those names has her number. If you were Zuri, with a message like that on your phone and a face like his staring at you from the news, would you answer his call and walk into that dinner, or would you risk ignoring a man the whole city seems scared to even say out loud? Zuri does not sleep. The night crawls past in a blur of restless half-dreams and sudden snaps back to wakefulness. Every time she closes her eyes, she is back in the red-lit elevator, feeling the floor shudder under her and his eyes on her face. By the time weak daylight filters through the thin curtain, her head throbs. The TV has long switched to early morning programs, but she did not notice. The only thing she remembers clearly is Ryusei's name and the steady weight of that message. Her alarm buzzes from the corner where her bag lies. She drags herself up and moves through her tiny kitchen on autopilot. The floor is cold under her bare feet. She fills the kettle, listens to the faint rattle as it heats, and stares at the stained wall while steam curls into the air. The smell of instant coffee fills the small space, bitter and familiar. She holds the warm mug between both hands, letting the heat soak into her fingers, but it does nothing to settle the shaking inside. At the table, her phone waits where she left it. She taps it on. No new messages. The old one is still gone, but it might as well be printed on the inside of her skull. Don't make me send someone else. What does that even mean for a man like him? She thinks of the security guards at the tower, the way guests in dark suits move through the lobby without anyone daring to meet their eyes. She pictures a stranger at her door, knowing her name, her floor, her schedule. Her stomach twists. She opens her notes app and types a new line, call in sick. Her thumb hovers over the backspace. She has only worked at the lounge for 9 months. She has already taken one sick day when a cold she caught from some guest on the 25th floor knocked her flat. She needs this job. Rent does not care that she met a mafia boss in an elevator. Student debt does not pause for panic. She deletes the note and sets the phone face down, as if that can flip her life back to normal. On the train to work, bodies press close, swaying in time with the tracks. The air smells like perfume, damp coats, and heated metal. Zuri stands wedged between a businessman scrolling through emails and a teenage girl with bright braids and headphones. She watches the blur of tunnels out of the corner of her eye, but in her mind, she sees a different path, one where she texts back wrong number and pretends it all never happened. Another where she replies, who is this, and dares him to say it. Both futures feel dangerous in different ways. When she steps into the Saitani Tower lobby, the air shifts. The smell of polished stone, cologne, and fresh flowers hits her at once. People move with practiced speed and careful posture. The security guards at the entrance nod at her like always, but today their uniforms feel heavier, their presence sharper. She swipes her badge at the staff gate, waiting for the small beep. For a heartbeat, she imagines it will flash red and lock her out. It turns green. She exhales and walks through. Upstairs, in the locker room, the other staff talk about tips, weather, and someone's broken heel from last night. Zuri moves like she is part of the same rhythm, changing shoes, fixing her hair in the mirror, tying her apron. But her eyes keep sliding to the door, expecting it to open on some stranger with orders. When it doesn't, her shoulders loosen a little. Still, one thought refuses to leave her alone. If Ryusei Tanaka wants her at dinner, he will not be the one waiting for her when the clock hits 8. And whoever he sends might not ask twice. By mid-evening, the lounge on the 50th floor is a soft hum of quiet voices and clinking glass. The city spreads out beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, a sea of lights that makes everything inside feel like its own floating world. Zuri moves between tables with practiced grace, tray balanced on her hand, face set in that calm, polite expression she has worn so long it almost feels like part of her skin. From the outside, nothing has changed. She thanks guests, bows just right, remembers drink orders without writing them down. But inside, every tick of the clock on the far wall hits like a tap on the inside of her skull. 7:12 p.m. 7:29. 7:41. Each time she glances toward the elevators, her chest tightens, even when it is just families leaving or drunk businessmen talking too loud. Her world has shrunk to the space between the bar and those doors. At 7:50, she is wiping down the polished counter when her manager, Mr. Hayashi, steps up beside her. His tie is perfect, his smile thin. Okafor-san, he says, voice as smooth as always. You are finished early tonight. Her hand stills on the cloth. My shift ends at 11, she answers, careful. He shakes his head once. Tonight, special arrangement. You will leave now. He slides an envelope onto the bar. Her name is written on it in neat black ink. Her tongue feels thick. Did I do something wrong? She keeps her voice low. He doesn't meet her eyes. No. You did well. Very polite. Very discreet. The pause after the last word makes her skin prickle. A car is waiting for you downstairs, he adds. Black sedan. You will recognize it. He straightens a stack of coasters that do not need straightening. The message is clear, this is not his idea. He is just passing orders along. Zuri wipes her hands on her apron, then unties it with fingers that suddenly feel clumsy. She takes the envelope. It is light, just a few folded bills inside when she peeks. A tip for obedience. Her locker feels farther away than usual as she walks back to change. Each step sounds loud on the hallway floor. In the mirror, she studies her reflection. Dark eyes, dark curls pulled back, makeup starting to fade at the edges. She looks like herself, but it feels like she is watching someone else get ready for a test she never agreed to take. In the elevator down, she rides alone. The regular soft music plays, and the lights stay bright, but her body remembers the red glow and the way the floor dropped out from under her. Her hand hovers near the panel, not touching anything, just needing something solid to brace against. When the doors open into the lobby, the noise and motion hit her all at once. Staff, guests, and strangers move in crisscrossing lines. Outside the revolving doors, a black sedan sits at the curb, exactly where Mr. Hayashi said it would be. The back window is tinted dark enough that she cannot see inside. Her pulse beats in her throat as she stands on the edge of the sidewalk, the cold air biting at the skin above her collar. The driver steps out in a black suit, opens the rear door, and nods to her without a word. If you were Zuri, standing there with the whole city behind you and that car door open in front of you, would you get in and face whatever waits on the other side, or would you turn and run, knowing that some doors, once closed, might never open for you again? Gunshots crack the air before Zuri even reaches the restaurant door. The sound slices through the soft city night, sharp and wrong, bouncing off glass and stone. She flinches back against the side of the black sedan, heart slamming so hard it steals her breath. The driver's hand flies out, palm flat toward her. "Stay," he says, voice tight, eyes locked on the entrance. The glass door bursts open a second later. A man in a white shirt stumbles out, gripping his side, red spreading under his fingers. He collapses to his knees on the sidewalk, the smell of gunpowder and spilled alcohol mixing in the cold air. Two of Ryusei's men rush past Zuri, moving like they have done this before. One kneels by the fallen man. The other pulls a gun, scanning the street with quick, controlled movements. The driver doesn't wait. He opens the back door wider and looks at her. Inside. Now. His voice leaves no room for argument. Zuri's legs feel like they're made of sand, but they move. She slides into the back seat, leather cold under her palms, and the door thuds shut. The noise outside becomes muffled, like someone put a wall between her and the chaos. Through the tinted glass, she sees feet moving fast, shadows crossing under streetlights, the wounded man being dragged out of sight. Her breath fogs the air in front of her. The car smells like leather, cologne, and a faint trace of smoke. Her eyes lock on the restaurant entrance, waiting for his shape to appear. Ryusei steps out after what feels like an hour and only a few heartbeats. His coat is unbuttoned now, his tie gone, his expression calm in a way that does not match the scene around him. He glances once at the man on the ground, then at the sedan. His gaze finds her through the glass like he already knew exactly where she would be. The back door opens. Cold air rushes in with him. He slides in beside her, closes the door with a soft click, and the noise outside drops to a faint murmur. Up close, she can see a small smear of red on his cuff, like he brushed against someone else's night. "Drive," he says. The car pulls away from the curb, leaving the flashing lights and shouts shrinking behind them. Zuri's fingers curl tightly together in her lap. She swallows hard. "Is this what dinner looks like for you?" she asks, voice low, trying to keep it steady. He turns his head just enough to see her. "Tonight was unexpected," he says. "I don't like surprises." The city blurs past the windows, a stream of color and light, while inside the car, the air hangs heavy with words they haven't said yet. If you were in that back seat, with gunshots still echoing in your ears and a man like that sitting inches away, would you ask what just happened and risk hearing the truth, or would you keep your questions to yourself and pretend you didn't see anything at all? The first thing Zuri notices inside the private room is the silence. No music. No chatter from the main dining area. Just the soft clink of a single plate being set down and the faint hiss of the door closing behind them. The room is all clean lines and warm light, a long table built for more people than the three standing here now, Zuri, Ryusei, and the man waiting near the far wall. The man at the wall has a narrow face and careful eyes. He wears a suit that fits too perfectly and a small earpiece that glints when he moves. His gaze slides over Zuri like he is weighing her in his mind. "This is her?" he asks in Japanese. Ryusei answers in the same language, voice flat. The other man's jaw tightens just a little, but he nods and steps back, hands clasped in front of him. Whatever they said, Zuri understands enough from body language to know she is a problem and a plan at the same time. Ryusei pulls out a chair and looks at her. "Sit." The word is simple, but it lands like an instruction she was always going to follow. She lowers herself into the chair, the cushion soft under her, the table smooth beneath her fingertips. A plate of food sits in front of her. Perfectly arranged, untouched. She realizes this dinner was set before the shots outside. This was supposed to happen no matter what. He sits across from her, not at the head of the table, but close enough that she can see a faint bruise darkening near his collarbone. "You kept our appointment," he says. Most people would have run when they saw the news. Zuri lets out a short, humorless breath. "I thought about it," she says. "But then I thought. Men like you don't send polite reminder texts when they're ignored." The corner of his mouth twitches. "You're right." He picks up his chopsticks, but he doesn't eat. Instead, he studies her like she is the main course. "You saw the report," he says. "You know what they call me." She nods once. "They call you a lot of things." He leans back slightly, fingers tapping once on the table. "What do you call me?" The question hangs between them. Her stomach tightens. "Right now," she says. "The man who got me trapped in a broken elevator without warning." The man by the wall shifts, like he is not sure if he should laugh or step in. Ryusei's eyes don't leave hers. "The elevator was not my order," he says slowly. "But I was the reason it stopped." That is the first secret he gives her. He admits that even accidents around him are not really accidents. It sends a cold line down her spine. "Why me?" she asks. "There are hundreds of people in that building. Why pick the girl who refills drinks?" He looks at her for a long beat. "Because you listened," he says. "Most people talk at me. You listened. And you did not flinch when I told you the truth about silence." His voice stays calm, but there is something tight in it now, like he is giving more away than he planned. The man at the wall clears his throat softly in Japanese, a reminder that this conversation has limits. Ryusei's gaze flicks toward him, then back to her. "Second reason," he says. "You have no ties here. No family. No power. That makes you clean. And people like me, we need something clean to measure ourselves against." Zuri's fingers press into the table edge. His words feel like both an insult and a strange kind of compliment. "So I'm, what? A mirror?" she says. He shakes his head. "No. A witness." The word lands heavy. A witness to what, he doesn't say. But the way he looks at her tells her this night is not about food at all. If you were in that chair, hearing a man like that spell out how alone you are and how useful that makes you, would you walk away from the table or lean in and see what he wants to show you next? The first crash comes from the hallway outside the private room. A tray hitting the floor. Glass shattering. A shout in Japanese that sounds more like a warning than an argument. Zuri's head snaps toward the door. The man by the wall straightens, hand going to the small of his back where a gun waits. His calm cracks just enough to show he didn't expect this. Ryusei doesn't hesitate. He stands in one smooth motion and reaches across the table, his fingers closing around Zuri's wrist. "Under," he says, and before she can argue, he pulls her down with him. Her knees hit the floor, then the side of her leg bumps hard against the table base. The tablecloth falls around them like a cheap curtain. The smell of wood, spilled soy sauce, and his cologne wraps around her as they squeeze into the tight space. Boots pound in the hallway. More shouts. This time she catches words, "Move." Inside. And then the door slams open. Gunfire erupts, loud and sharp, making the table jump above their heads. Her ears ring. She clamps a hand over her mouth to hold in a scream. Beside her, Ryusei is still, but she can feel his muscles tight as wire where his arm presses against her shoulder. The man at the wall fires back, the sound harsher in the enclosed space. A chair topples, falling against the table. The legs scrape inches from her face. Splinters of wood dust her hair. Someone groans, low, pained, then goes quiet. The gunfire stops as fast as it started, leaving only the echo of it bouncing around her skull. The silence that follows is thick with the smell of smoke and fear. Zuri feels her heartbeat in her throat, in her fingertips, in her teeth. She waits for another shot, another shout, any sign that this is over or just on pause. Ryusei moves first. He lets go of her wrist and pushes the tablecloth aside with one hand, peeking out. "Stay down," he says, his voice a little rough now. She sees a slice of the room through the gap, one of his men on the floor, shoulder blooming red, two strangers face down near the door, guns kicked out of reach. The man who had been standing by the wall is now braced behind a tipped chair, breathing hard, gun still raised. Zuri crawls out slowly, legs shaking. Her hands leave sweat prints on the polished floor. The air in the room feels wrong, too hot, full of burnt powder. She pulls herself up using the back of a chair and forces her eyes to take in the scene. This is what being close to him looks like, one dinner, and someone is already bleeding out on the carpet 2 steps from where her plate sat. "They weren't police," the guard says in Japanese. "They aimed for you first." Ryusei nods, jaw tight. "Inside job," he says. "Or someone very close." He turns to Zuri. "Third secret," he says quietly, like they are still alone in that elevator. "You are safer near me than far from me right now. Whoever sent them will not care who else they hit." Her mind races. Home. Bus stops. Her narrow stairwell that suddenly feels like a trap. "So this is why you wanted a witness?" she asks. "To what happens when someone tries to take your place?" He holds her gaze. "No," he says. "To what I become when they try." The way he says it makes her realize there's one thing she hasn't seen yet, what he looks like when he stops holding back. The safe house is too quiet. No street noise, no city hum, no neighbors arguing through thin walls. Just the low buzz of hidden machines and the faint tick of a clock on the far wall. Zuri stands in the middle of the living room, arms wrapped around herself, taking in the clean lines, the heavy curtains, the security cameras tucked into corners. It smells like new paint, wood polish, and the faint trace of someone else's cologne from a visit before hers. She has been here for hours now. Long enough to shower off the smoke and sweat from the restaurant. Long enough to change into simple clothes someone folded on the bed for her. Not long enough for her hands to stop trembling when she remembers the sound of bullets hitting walls inches from her head. 2 of Ryusei's men sit at a small table near the door, pretending not to watch her. They play cards in silence, their pile of chips untouched, guns resting close enough to grab in a heartbeat. The clock on the wall reads 2:13 a.m. She should be exhausted, but her body refuses to shut down. She walks to the window and peeks through a narrow gap in the thick curtain. The neighborhood outside looks ordinary, sleeping buildings, a quiet street, a single streetlight casting a pool of yellow. Somewhere under that calm surface, people are looking for him. And now, because she sat at his table, they might be looking for her too. She hears the door unlock behind her. The guards stand up in the same instant, chairs scraping back. Ryusei walks in without a knock, his tie gone, shirt sleeves rolled up, hair slightly out of place. He looks less like the polished figure from the news and more like someone who has been fighting a fire he refuses to lose. His eyes go straight to her, as if he needs to see that she is still exactly where he left her. He nods to his men, and they slip out, closing the door behind them. For the first time all night, they are truly alone. He steps farther into the room, stopping a few feet away. "How is the room?" he asks. The question is so normal it almost makes her laugh. "The room is fine," she says. "The part where people with guns want to erase you from the map. That's the part I'm still working on." A tired smile ghost flickers across his face. "You're still making jokes," he says. "That's good. It means you're not broken yet." He walks past her and sits on the edge of the sofa, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. The quiet stretches. Zuri can hear the faint hum of the fridge in the other room, the ventilation system pushing cool air through hidden vents. He finally speaks without looking up. "Fourth secret," he says. "The investigation on the news. It's not just the police. There are people inside my own world feeding them pieces. Tonight was their way of telling me they're done with pieces." She leans against the wall, holding on to the cool surface behind her. "So I was at your table when your enemies decided to take a full shot," she says. "And you still think I'm safer with you than at my place watching dramas on my busted TV?" He lifts his head, eyes locking onto hers. "Yes," he says. "Because now they know I pulled you out of that tower and kept you alive after the attack. In their minds, that makes you leverage. They will try to use you to break me." The way he says, "break," tells her he has seen it happen to others. The weight of his words hits her chest. For the first time, she lets herself ask the question out loud. "Why didn't you just let me go?" she whispers. "You could have walked out of that elevator and never looked back. You could have ignored me tonight, let me keep serving drinks to people who don't know your name." He stands slowly and closes the distance between them, stopping close enough that she can see the tiny lines at the corner of his eyes. "Because," he says quietly, "when I was in that elevator, you talked to me like a man and not a monster. And I realized something that scared me more than any gun." He pauses, eyes searching her face. "I realized I wanted at least one person in this city to know who I am before they decide what I deserve." The decision hits her before she knows she has made it. 1 second Zuri is pressed against the wall, his words hanging in the air between them. The next, she is stepping forward, closing that last bit of space, because standing still feels more dangerous than moving. Her heart beats loud enough that she wonders if he can hear it. "So what do you want from me?" she asks. "You said you needed a witness. You said I was clean. You said I'm leverage. Which one is it really?" Ryusei looks down at her, every muscle in his jaw tight. "All of them," he says. "I won't lie to you. Keeping you close helps me. It reminds me I have something to lose that isn't money or territory." He glances at the closed door, where his men wait on the other side. "But it also paints a target on your back that you didn't ask for." She nods. "Finally, something we agree on," she says. Her voice shakes, but she doesn't look away. He moves to the small table and pulls out a folder she hadn't noticed before. It has her name on it in neat writing. "They already knew who you were before tonight," he says. "Your job. Your apartment. Your history in Atlanta. They dug through everything they could find in a few hours." He pushes the folder toward her. Inside, she sees printouts. Old school records, a photo of her outside the tower, a blurry image from a security camera near her building. Her life laid out like evidence. "You have two choices," he says. "You can walk out of here. I will give you money, a new identity, a way out of this country. You disappear. You never say my name again. You live a life where I am just a face you saw once on the news." The words sound like a dream and a threat at the same time. "Or," she asks, throat dry. He holds her gaze. "Or you stay. You work for me. Not as a soldier. Not as decoration. As the one person in the room who will tell me the truth when everyone else only tells me what they think I want to hear." The idea spins in her mind. Work for the man the news calls a criminal. The man people tried to kill over dinner. The man who pulled her under a table and then into a safe house. She thinks of her father, of the plans she left behind in Atlanta, of the way she ran here to disappear and somehow ended up more visible than she has ever been. "What does that even look like?" she asks. "Me, working for you." He shrugs one shoulder. "You watch. You listen. You tell me what you see that I'm too far above the ground to notice. You remind me when I start to turn into the thing they already think I am." She laughs once, short and raw. "You want me to be your conscience?" She says. That's a lot to ask from a woman who used to wipe lipstick off champagne glasses for men who couldn't remember her name. He steps closer, stopping a breath away. "That's exactly why I'm asking you," he says. "Because you know what it's like to be invisible. And invisible people see everything." The room feels smaller, the air thicker, as the weight of both paths settles on her shoulders. Outside, a car engine starts. Somewhere in the house, a phone buzzes with news she hasn't heard yet: who made it out of the restaurant, who is still coming for him, how close the investigators are now that shots have been fired in a public place. Zuri looks down at the folder with her life inside it, then up at the man who just offered to rewrite it. If you were standing where she is now, with one door leading back to an ordinary life in the shadows and another door opening into a world of danger, power, and a chance to matter more than you ever have, which one would you walk through, and why? If you want to find out what choice Zuri makes next, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the follow-up story on this channel. And don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments, because your words might be the push someone else needs to face their own hard decision about what kind of life they're willing to risk everything for.